Today we have 4 panelists that'll be giving a little bit of insight on what justice reform is. We're going to start from my right and down to introduce you guys. You first.
I'm Mark Maxson.
I'm Marsha Eglin, CEO of Impact Family Center.
I'm Sean Tyler, torture survivor, also CEO of New Vision.
Eric Corkins, founder of Broken Wings, Community United organizer here in Roseland.
All right, thank you. Just keep it. I just want you guys to give a brief description of what you feel justice reform is to you. Starting from my right, please.
That's an interesting question. I was accused of actually murdering one of a youth. I have family. I come from a good place. Prison reform, I came from Area 2, which is the John Burke district. This has quite a significant meaning for me because I'm from Roseland. I've been in Roseland since 1966, which makes me smile because I'm back in the community and I do things behind the scene and I improve things. I'm known as a handyman, and you know, I just like helping youth and programs and, you know, black input, those type of things, because I'm from the hood. I actually put neighbor in the hood. If I see something, I say something. I'm not just going to let something happen to an elderly person or a young person. I mean, if it's something wrong, I'm going to say something. At least if nothing's said, then nothing can be done. I mean, if you have to ask for help, if you don't ask for help, then nobody would know you need help.
I have learned so much from working with this community. Nearly 17 years now. September will be 17 years. I've learned that justice reform is greatly needed because justice is unjust. It's not fair for those who are disadvantaged. It's not fair for those who are low income. It's not fair for those who cannot afford that big time attorney or to do whatever happens behind the scenes. And I believe that there are 2 systems of justice in this country. There's one for the underserved, and there's one for the privileged. And that is why I fight so hard for justice reform, and I listen to those who we serve because I believe that they have the answers, and I believe that their voices need to be heard. Hence, this panel.
I can't speak for everywhere else, you know, but up here, justice is, the system up here sucks, you know. It's a lot of guys, and I'm saying this from experience, who have been wrongfully convicted and who are suffering from that because the court system, the justice system itself, is denying them the adequate legal representation that they need. Guys are incarcerated, guys' cases who have been overturned. I'm in the middle of a situation right now after being wrongfully convicted and tortured. I'm a survivor. After doing 25 years, in 2015, I was granted an evidentiary hearing to pursue a new trial. That was 2015. I'm still waiting on it. So I was forced to do all the time. Even the courts agreed that I had been tortured and possibly wrongly convicted and gave me my shot at trying to get out of jail early. I still end up doing 25 years because of this justice system. So again, the justice system is broken. And it's a lot of things that need to be done before it can get back to where it's supposed to be. One, you have to wipe it clean. You have to remove everybody with the old thinking, the old ideology, and the way that they see Chicago and the way they see Illinois first before you can start bringing something new to the table. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I agree with everybody. I agree with everybody here on the panel. You know, reform is much needed in Chicago. That's why I started doing this work. You know, wait, let me start over. The guy all the way on the end, that's my older brother. And being a younger brother of an older brother being wrongfully incarcerated, it messed our family up. You know, and he said he'll break it down later on. But in 2014, Laquan McDonald was killed, and that's when we put in to put a consent decree in Chicago. The Chicago consent decree went into effect in March of 2019. You know, that's the federally enforced agreement between the Chicago Police Department and the CPD. You know, so reform has to start with the CPD, with us, and with us knowing our rights on what we can and can't do. You know, the city is in the uproar now because of the murder of our officer, and the police have went back to business as usual. So it's gonna take us to know all the laws. You know, we have a foot pursuit policy, we have a wrongful raid policy. All these things have just went into effect from 2019 up to the present time. You know, and a lot of people are not aware of it. You know, and that's one reason why I'm here, to inform you guys of your rights, and we're informing other people their rights, so you won't be like this brother and the other brother on the other end.
Thank you for that. I wanted to ask a question. So how do you feel that we can deal with the corruption in the system, specifically being in Illinois, that you guys have experience with the Illinois system?
The police or the justice system?
The justice system.
The justice system is corrupt. I mean, our whole system in Illinois is corrupt. Our last two governors before Pritzker went to jail. You know, so we have to start at the top. You know, if the governor who governs the whole state is corrupt, what do you expect out of the kids?
I agree with him. You know, it's been said, I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but pertaining to the city of Chicago and Illinois, that we represent Crook County and Stillinois. This is how the world speaks of us. And if you go back, and again, you guys are a little younger, so if you go back to the history of Chicago, Illinois itself, all you're gonna find is corruption. You peel it back, corruption, year after year, and it doesn't have no complexion. You know, so we're not saying it's a white thing, it's a black thing. If you can steal, they steal it, you know, and that's what's going on. So in order to fix it again, you have to get at some point be willing to wipe it. You have to remove it, you know, and hope that you can get to the bottom of it. And that's a hope, you know, that's not even no guarantee. Because who's to say how far it goes? Because it's been going on for far too long.
Wow. I can't say that I've experienced it, but as a journalist working in the industry for a long time, I believe that with the issues that are going on as a journalist, I believe that there needs to be more ways for the media, especially, to open the eyes of the public. I believe that that's our charge. But because of systems that are in place and powerful people, I don't believe that we always get the right information. When I was working regularly in news, I also don't believe that the fight is as strong as it should and could be for the people because of the powers that be. And the powers that be are there because we are not always educated voters. And a lot of us who experience the worst don't even bother to vote. But we don't understand the power that we have. I also believe that when you look at the stats are usually not in favor of brown and black people. But I strongly believe, and I always say, that if brown and black could get rid of whatever it is that's keeping us apart, we would become the majority. And they would listen to us. And that's something that I will believe until it happens, and I can show you better than I can tell you. But our racists that get the short end of the stick all the time, we are the ones who need to realize that it's a system set up for us to continue to be against each other, for us to continue to kill each other, for us to continue to do things that land us in trouble with the law. But if we would wise up and come together and show them that that's not who we are, that that's not what we're about, but then brown and black link arms together, we would see the change.
The thing for me about the reform question is that if you ask the question of who runs the penal system and how many black men are in the penal system, you would see that the statistics of that would be high. They use incarceration as to warehouse black men now. They actually get money for institutionalizing black men. So to the young men in this community or in this audience or just tuned in, you have to be careful with how you go out and carry yourself with your pants, the way you dress, the way you, I mean, it's just those things that they can just pick on and substitute for warehousing in the penitentiary. And that destroys the black family. If you're not strong and built for this, you know, you'll be somewhere out there trying to find out who you are, what you made of, and you would never know until you're tested. So I think that programs should be set, whereas the youth should have the programs in the community to help rebuild those communities, help those communities look better. I mean, you can't, I mean, I know this Roseland area pretty well. I remember when it was partially white and it was respectable. It was always respectable. I would say, even though the way it is now, it's still respectable. But with the way that it's designed, we'll fight each other and we'll argue with each other, but yet still I love my brother. You know what I mean? So it's what you give back. I have a lot to say, and I don't want to just take up the mic all day. But at the same time, if you have any questions you want to ask me about what's going on personally, I can give you a background on the criminal justice system because I'm a paralegal in my own way. I have a DNA case, and I had to represent myself. I can't get representation from a lawyer, so I understand what the ins and outs of going into the penal system is about. But I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I reported what I saw, and I ended up in jail for reporting what I saw. If I was white, would that happen? No. But in Illinois, being black, reporting what I saw, I had a job. I was 31 years old. I had money in my pocket. I had checks in my pocket in my own name, so I didn't have time for, you know, anything else. I was going home. I was kind of tired. It was kind of late in the evening. And I reported what I saw, and I ended up doing 25 years. I mean, it was hair, blood, fingerprints, all type of things in that case, and none of it was mine, and I still did that time. So, you know, you got to look at how this is how it was. They sentenced me and silenced the silenced community on how, you know, for the crime to happen because it was a 6-year-old boy. You know, so the community wanted answers, and they gave them me. I mean, because I reported what I saw. I mean, I'm okay now. I've been home now 5 years. I have my own company. I own a truck. I own a few things. I mean, I have lawnmower saws. I'm always reproducing things. I'm a handyman. So, I mean, I provide for myself. No government, no type of handouts. I pay my own medical, dental. You know, so it's not easy for me, but at the same time, I'll be okay.
I just wanted to say something because we deal with youth. I believe that our young people are the criminal justice system. They've seen so much injustice in their elders and their older brothers, their fathers, their mothers, their relatives. I believe that there's a fear. And then I believe that there's also, you know, they're just angry and they're disappointed. They don't know how to handle it, and because of fear, that goes back to police encounters. Even that's why I asked which one, because when you want justice, you've got to get justice first. When you have that encounter with that police officer who stopped you because you driving a nice car and it happens to be your uncle's car, your mom's car or something, and then you're afraid and you've heard the talk, you know, keep your hands wherever, whatever, but then you still are not treated justly. So I believe that justice starts with the police, justice starts in the court systems, and then justice starts even in prison. And there's so much injustice in that whole line that how can our young people even believe that they're going to get a fair shake? How can they believe that justice is for us? Is it?
It's sad that I mean, she right about everything she just said. You know, I believe pertaining to y'all, because it's hard for y'all to trust when trust has been broken or stolen. You know, so as much as we want to believe, and we probably should believe that, and this doesn't goes for every officer, you know, but a lot of times you don't have the time to figure out who good and who bad. You know, if all you see is officers shooting black unarmed people, mistreating black unarmed people, getting down on black unarmed people, I don't have the time to figure out, is you a good one? Are you finna do it? Flat out, I ain't rocking with you. Just, you know, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do nothing because I don't have the time to find out if you one of the ones that shot my uncle, jumped on my cousin, shot the people in the car, because there's so much going on. You know, and I ain't telling y'all not to do nothing with the police. I'm just saying it's rough for us as blacks. It's rough for y'all as kids to see so much that y'all see that y'all don't even have the time to do it. You know, it's hard to trust. When trust has been stolen, when it's been broken, it's hard to get that back. And then when it's being passed down through family, your family instilled it on you, and you looking at it like, even though without you ever having a run in, man, my mama said this, my daddy said that, I seen my brother and them, so, you know, I don't know who did nothing. You know, no, I don't know. You know, like she said, you in a car that's yours, and still you scared to pull over. You should never be scared to pull over when you, somebody like he said, the man work, he got everything going for himself. You know, he reported a crime and he ended up being punished for doing exactly what America tell everybody to do. See something, say something. He seen something, said something, he became a victim. You know, so how do that lay out with everybody else? Oh, they did that to him for that? Well, shit, I ain't saying nothing. You know, I ain't finna say nothing. And that's what he ends up being passed down. And I ain't saying it's the right thing, but when you see something like that, what are you supposed to do? You see somebody did the right thing and got mistreated for it. You see somebody driving a legit car, license, insurance, and still get taken advantage of. So what are we to do? So again, only thing I can tell y'all to do as the youth is just be careful. That's all I can say is be careful, you know. As less contact as you can have, try not to have, you know. I don't recommend you have, you know, I mean, if you don't have to, you don't have to. You know, don't go seek them out for nothing, none of that there. If they ain't trying to, if you didn't do nothing, then go on about your life, you know. Because again, wrongfully conviction up here is at an all-time high, you know. And I don't know, if y'all can find the time, research it. Punch in Chicago, punch in Illinois, punch in recently released wrongfully convicted people, and watch how it just come down. And these are people that's doing years. I did 25 years, 17 to 42. All that time missed. Wasn't no balling, wasn't none of that. Everything that y'all have enjoyed at 17, I missed out on. 18 missed out on. All the way up until I came home at 42. And right now today, people look at it like, oh my God, he's so happy when he eat a simple sandwich. Seems like it ain't, simple sandwich. Simple sandwich is the bomb when you ain't had it in 25 years. Old pack of Fresh Now ladies, that does a lot for me. You know, and it might not do nothing for nobody else, but when you ain't had it in 25 years, it's the bomb, you know, and you eat it somewhat like a horse. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you, you choosing to it. You making sure you taste everything because you missed everything. But again, on a serious note, man, I mean, it's gonna take a lot for it to get back the way it's supposed to be. And that's the biggest part of Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, and a lot of other places. It's gonna take a lot to get all the way back to where we're supposed to be at.
Can we get there?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. Not at all. But we can try.
Well, I think we can get there. You know, it's gonna take God. It's gonna take Jesus. It's gonna take love. You know, and that's what's missing. You know, everybody is out for self. A lot of younger people witness their first murder or crime at an early age. You know, I got some kids that witness their uncles and their aunties getting beat up on when they 4, 5, 3. You know, so that's trauma. You know, and this trauma has been passed down for generations, you know. And we was taught that don't say nothing to the police. If the police say something, they gonna be right either way it go. You know, and the kids nowadays, they ain't going. You know, bottom line, they ain't going. So we have to find different ways to attack this beast because it's way out of hand. Thank God for cameras. At first you couldn't record nothing. And since we've been able to record things, we're able to see this happening, not just here in Chicago, but all over where cops have been overseers instead of officers, and they've been treating us as if these are plantations, and we've been beaten. Bottom line, you beat a person so much till you break them. You know, and a lot of people are broken and don't think it's hope, but as long as you got breath, it's hope. You know, and I'm a firm believer of that because my big brother, he ain't had no outdating. He's sitting right there. You know, so it's hope. It's hope. You know, you just gotta stick it out, man. It's gonna be trials and tribulations that you go through, but when they say it make you stronger, it make you stronger. You know, I've been shot, paralyzed, all the whole 9 yards of a wheelchair. You know, I'd have been in ICU 6 times in life, dangling for my life. And it came down to the conclusion that, for me, that God is my answer. Can't nobody else save me. Can't nobody else put me nowhere. Can't nobody kill me. Can't nobody do nothing until it's my time to go. It's just that we have to stand as men, and we got to take control of. I think it's gonna take a lot of men in our age group, you know, because we was the lost ones. In the 90s, it was a big incarceration with the drugs and the gangs, you know. And in 2020 now, it's gonna be a big incarceration with these guns, with young people and guns. And it always seems like the government turn and bring it on us when we don't manufacture nothing. You know, you got the ATF, you got the DEA, you got the CIA, but yet still you go at the lowest man on the totem pole, the kids. Come on, that's by design. We know it's by design. You know, it was taught to us that it was by design, and a lot of our leaders, like Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover, told us it was by design and tried to warn us. That's why they can't come home. You know, it's just like, man, you know, how long are we gonna continue to let this happen? And that's why I believe the kids do what they do, because they not going. You know, ain't no officer friendly. Ain't no officer friendly. When we was coming up, it was officer. Yeah, it's a form of rebellion. You got to think about it. If I'm a kid and I got 10, 12, 15 RIP t-shirts from all my friends, you know, I mean, death is here. We didn't see it. They see it. They didn't cry it out. They go on to funerals 2, 3 times a week. So, you know, you got to think about it. A lot of these kids were born on drugs. You know, they were given Ritalin and all these other test drugs. You know, on top of the marijuana, on top of the crack in the 80s. You know, so all of us have been the doggone guinea pigs for years. And it's like now we like, man, we ain't going. You know, so I believe in the future. I believe in our kids, and I believe in the rebellion. But I think the way it's guided, there's no leadership. That's why I thank God for you young people, because you young people can change the other young people around y'all, and y'all got a strong economy coming. Y'all be stronger than the Panthers. The Panthers was strong, and all of them was in their early 20s when they got murdered, 21 and 22 years old. You know, and it's time. You know, our job here is just to
Sorry not to cut you off. Well, my name is Jamar. I too was incarcerated as a young man. I did a lot of years. I've been a youth advocate for a lot of years. Me, Mr. Tate, a couple of more guys. I think before we get to justice reform, because we all can agree that it looks different for us, low-income, impoverished people, male and female, I think we have to address the fact that we inherit post-traumatic stress disorder. And so when we address that and we start properly diagnosing these cases, we can begin to understand some of the anxieties that we face when dealing with these authorities. That should be step one. And then step two, we have to properly teach our children and some of our adults what goes into a name and how to live up to that name positively. We can't continue to address being a nickname. We can't continue to feed off into that, because people that are afraid of you for whatever reason, they go by what they hear. They don't live in our neighborhoods. So by the time as I go through my training, I'm trained to deal with Crazy K. The problem is Crazy K looks exactly like Jamar. So when they pull up on us, there's no difference between the two, and so they come gun shooting. So it's not always the police fault. The responsibility starts with us first. And it's going to be an ongoing process to bring understanding to how to properly diagnose this post-traumatic stress disorder, and how to strengthen and listen to the youth advocates, because right now is you guys' time. And learn about your name. Learn how to be strong in your name and build a legacy based on that. And that should be the place where we start as far as justice reform.
Hi, everybody doing? My name is Tim. I'm an outreach worker for Iman, Inner City Muslim Action Network. I've been working in outreach for like the last maybe 8 to 10 years since I've been home. That's all I've been doing. And it's interesting that my homie, he brought up the post-traumatic stress disorder, because I don't know if anybody familiar, y'all, and any of y'all that's, that's inclined, I would advise y'all to read a book by the name of Dr. Joy DeGruy, and it's called Dr. Joy DeGruy, and it's actually called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder. And essentially what it talks about is how trauma from slavery has been passed down from generation to generation. And a lot of the things that we don't talk about, and especially when we're talking about justice reform, we don't talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is actually systematic racism. And for us to understand that we have been literally victims of this country for over 200 and some years. And we have dealt with trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma in all of the time that our people has been here, and we have not one time as a group dealt with psychological trauma. We have not dealt with the actual what am I looking for? The ramifications. Exactly. We haven't actually dealt with the ramifications, especially as a generation, as a people. We're actually suffering a lot of the anxieties and a lot of stuff that we deal with, stress factors, everything could be and has been, through Dr. Joy DeGruy's work, traced directly back to our experiences, our ancestors' experiences during slavery. We haven't dealt with that. Mentally speaking, in order for us to be able to heal, we have to address systematic racism. We have to talk about systematic racism and how it affects us. And then once we understand how it affects us, we can move forward in dealing with all of the things that's out to make us poor. All of the things, or all of the apparatuses that's been put in place to keep us in a situation that we're in right now. We can start look at those things and we can start taking those things down. So my whole the whole point that I'm making in regards to our situation and in regards to justice reform is that the elephant in the room is something that we need to address, and that elephant in the room is systematic racism.
I just wanted to make a point regarding the issue of mental illness. Several years ago, it's probably been a little bit longer than that, they decided to remove all the mental health clinics out of our community. One thing that I believe is technically a lot of them weren't really doing the job that they needed to do in the first place, but at least we had some resources. And as a youth development provider, we believe that we cannot teach educational enhancements, skills development, leadership, or even the digital media that we do without that undergirding of mental health support. Because we are all traumatized in so many ways, like you've said. It's been passed down. I was just in Virginia Beach and standing in Hampton at the ocean where the first slaves came onto Virginia soil, and I broke down. I couldn't handle it, just thinking about that. And then while I was still out there, it's so inspirational to be in that area. We went to a mall, and they had a statue there, and it was called the Statue of Life, and I keep it in my phone. But it was the bodies of all these African slaves built on top of each other to create the Tree of Life. And when you think about that, when you really think about the fact that you're standing on all these bodies that came before you and that perished for you, you have to get it into perspective, and you have to realize, I know who I am, and I know where I come from. People will hear me always talk about my Creole, my Cherokee, and my African roots. And I know why I work like I work. I know who my grandfather was, my great-grandfather. So we have to get in touch with that, but we have to connect to services like this one, programs like this one. Ironically, it's the Illinois Commission on Justice Authority that has funded this program. And there's such a need. It's not even a need. There should be a requirement. There should be a requirement that if you're going to offer youth programming, if you're going to offer any type of programming in these underserved neighborhoods, mental health has to be a part of it. Because we are faced with trauma every single day. And a young man just walked out of here, 9 years old, brother shot in Iowa. Bullet goes through 2 houses into his house. He was in the house. He wasn't out there on nothing. So until we can deal with this trauma, we really can't address those who look like us, who are our skin color, who speak our language, doing this random shooting, not valuing life, because they don't really understand who they are. They don't understand where they came from. We need to understand our roots all the way back to Africa. We need to go like to the museum and see. I saw all of that stuff, and that charged me up. But I believe that we should be taking these young brothers and sisters in the hood so they can understand and connect with it, and then be the change that they want to see. Because you can't expect change if you're not willing to change.
I was at work before I came here, and I took a break, and that's because I wanted to be responsible again. I take that as a challenge. For me, I would like to give back, and I always do. It's always been one of my things. I do therapy. I mean, I personal train. I personal train this. I had to fight for a living, but 25 years, I had the murder of a child, so I had to fight. I wasn't in jail just laid back like everybody else. I had to fight. I know what the Mexicans do. I know what the blacks do. I know what the whites do. I know how the gangbangers do. I was on my own against them and me. It was me against them, and it's not a pretty picture that I'm trying to paint for you. Because I want you to know it's hard out here, and I want you to know that whatever you get, be grateful for it, be thankful, and just humble yourselves. You do that, and believe, I'm quite sure things will work out pretty well for you. Again, I think that programs should be set in this community toward the youth. I'm going to, from the back, as I always do, start one. I'm not here to make myself look good. It's just that I feel like giving back in that way. I'm in a lawsuit against the city of Chicago still. For the last 5 years, Chicago has not given me a dime for the crime that has been committed against me. because they hurt my family. I want to give back to my family just as I would have done had I not went. You know, so it's still, like I said, it looks pretty good for me. And I still would like to see this community still get that program, you know, for the youth.
Okay, I have one last question. How does economics play into the whole, the full-fledged system of pumping us into post-traumatic stress disorder, having to turn to alternatives for father figures and other things of that nature? Just think about that. What y'all think against this last part?
Well, I say, I mean, that was by design. It was designed like that. You know, we can't sugarcoat or anything. You know, we basically, black people were Republicans. We worked for us. You know, the different handouts started breaking up the family to Section 8s, and when they started Section 8, the first thing they'll do is come through your house and make sure there ain't no man clothes in your house. So that took the daddy structure up out. Maybe he down on his luck, he can't find a job, but he can't even stand. He can't even stay in the house. So that starts a shift of power in the household, cause mama holding everything. And once you shift power, you know, it make a man feel different. So he got to bounce around any means necessary, do things he could. And then at the same time, they were going through the Vietnam War. So a lot of guys came home on heroin from Agent Orange. You know, so it was a design in the late 60s. We got to get it straight and understand. After Malcolm and Martin and Malcolm, they said can't be no more of that. Can't be no Black Panther Party. So the whole thing was, I think the president was Hoover at the time. It was to break us, you know, and make you don't want to stand up, you know, like they did when blacks stood up during slavery time. They'll lynch the person up and let you see, oh yeah, this y'all tough guy, where you at now? You know, and after years and years and decades of that, you know, you had this. We reformed. We linked on the drugs. You know, we went to cocaine. We went to heroin. Then the epidemic of crack in the '80s was like a sweep. And when it swept through, everybody was so embarrassed that we didn't address it as people. I'd be like, oh, that's in his family, that ain't in my family. Oh, that's in her family, that ain't in my family. And it slowly got in everybody's family. And once it got to everybody's family, this why the community look like this. We look like Mississippi now. You know, we wanted the money, we wanted the fast, we wanted the cars, and it was like a race to be broke. We'll get the money, and we'll run up here to Roseland and buy clothes. We're the poorest community all over the country, but we're the only, blacks is the only community where they got boxes set up to recycle our clothes. And we get money off our clothes, and we loyally will go put it in the box so they can resell it to us. So it's by design, and we gotta break that design.
I agree. It's most definitely by design, and if you go back before coming forward, you're gonna find that to be a fact. And like he said, that Section 8 and them projects and everything that surrounded that put a real big dent in these neighborhoods, you know, to force kids, boys, to become men early, because again, you know, nobody wants to see their mother struggle, you know, in no sort of way. So he take to the streets, and as much as she can do to don't you, it's only going to go so far, because at the end of the day, mama, I can't see you struggling. I can't be your son and see you crying. I can't be your son and see you hurt. I can't see my brothers and sisters, and I'm older than them. I can't see y'all hungry and not try to find a way to fix it. It's impossible, you know. Nobody had to teach a boy that. Nobody got to teach you that you're supposed to make sure your mama okay. Nobody teach you that you're supposed to make sure your brothers and sisters and them eat. This is something that's just instilled. It comes with being born. It's just you. Something that you have to do. You see your mama crying, how can I fix it? You see your brothers and sisters hungry, how can I fix it? You know? Nobody wants to go to the street. But if this is the way for me to feed my brother, help my mother, then I'm out here, you know. And what that do is, again, it creates a situation for one more male to be out of the house, because now you have a house full of women. Because if I get bumped, if I get in trouble, then I too am gone. You see? And it becomes a cycle, because some people got away, some people didn't. You know, everybody wasn't that lucky, you know. Everybody wasn't. A lot of us end up paying that price. And then for those who end up, who managed to do something good, again, like he said, he was working, I was going to school, and yet we both still became a victim to torture and a victim to wrongfully conviction for cases that we didn't do. So you would love to believe that the good guys sometimes get the, no. Because doing the right thing even sometimes land you in there. Because the situation, the same thing, you know, even if you go back to what they saying with the post-traumatic, it's been going on, you know. Nobody had a name for it. Nobody knew how to deal with it, but it's been going on. You know, people ain't on drugs because they want to be on drugs. Pressure, you know, pressure. People trying to just make it in situations that they can't, end up being too much pressure, you know. And sometimes it's the men, and most of the time it's the women. You know, men sometimes take to the streets before they can, aside from the ones that he speak of that came back addicted, it was mainly the women. Because again, they forced with a situation. I had a guy here, I had 4 kids, he was contributing, I was contributing, now he gone. Now here I go with the kids, how do I fix this? Oh my God, there goes Shirley next door. Shirley get high already. Because the pressure already broke Shirley, now it's a chain reaction. Now it's a group of sisters getting high. All because this has become an escape. This has become an escape for them, a getaway. And again, these same women that team up to get high leave houses full of kids who have to find a way. Men take to the streets, the girls do what they got to do. It's not a pretty sight, but it's life, you know. Nobody wants it, but it is what it is. And it's a shame, you know. But again, like you say, it's by design, you know. And you can follow it all the way back and come all the way forward, and you're going to find the same thing.
I just wanted to piggyback off what he said. Everything that was done wasn't bad, and people want to label it gang. Sometimes when you go out and hang out, you just need that space because you got to get out the house. You know, even though I ran with a gang, our participation on bad stuff might have been 5%. The majority of the time we out laughing, just trying to get away from whatever situations that we got into, but we didn't have the knowledge, nor did we have the education to push each other further, but we was deaf for each other, and we went through the same thing. Maybe our parents beat on us, maybe we couldn't do nothing, maybe we had to steal something. You look out for me, we eat, you know. And it was like, that's why people say that become family, because a lot of that stuff be all you got. You know, you go home and your parents, they at their ends with, and they cursing you out, you know, and that back then, jumping on your mama and daddy was unheard of. Talking back to your mama and daddy was unheard of. So you had to go outside, you know. But I do want to say that everything the gangs did wasn't bad, and it was really a safe haven that got turned upside down, because we didn't have it. That was our boys club. That was our YMCA. We had balls. Before we got that crack ball, we had balls. So we'd go play baseball, basketball, football all day, and be super hungry and go home and be like, man, what's next?
I'm gonna say this last thing and I'm gonna slide. And this is piggyback. Again, this is it's Chicago, so everybody loves to shit on the gangs. And I'm not talking about what's taking place now, because it's no gangs now. You know, a bunch of friends running around, you know, misguided, looking for some help. You know, again, a lot of them are suffering from mental illnesses and don't know, you know, because again, like back then, nobody was able to diagnose what was going on. So now it's become a big thing for everybody to say, because back then nobody knew it, but now it's you're ahead in every conversation that somebody talks. Mental illness, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody to tell another person that they bipolar, because now everybody understand what it is. Now they're able to say, oh, he's bipolar, she's bipolar. But the gangs, like he said, the 5% of bad that they may have done couldn't compare to the 95% of good that they were doing. I make no justifications for it, but for a kid that didn't have a father, when he joined up with these people who laid some paperwork in his lap and told him that stealing was unacceptable, robbing was unacceptable, to be able to have sportsmanship as a man, win how you lose, all of these things came from paperwork that was displayed throughout a lot of these organizations. Kids have to understand this, and if you don't have a father, because again, as a mother, if she working and she don't even have enough time to tell you, son, if you go out here, you know, don't steal, don't rob, don't lie, don't rape, don't pillage, all of these things that she failed to do, these people stepped in to do. It was older people. Again, I make no justification, but that law and them policies that they set forth to a lot of us was necessary and very much needed. And it helped to shape and mold a lot of people that was being raised around them. You know, so as much as you like to hate it and take a dump on it, the people who got it, understood it, received it, and applied it right now are some of the best peoples that you can conversate and kick it with right now. They some of the peoples right now who are in every neighborhood trying to give back, trying to help fix things that they didn't break, but didn't have a problem with coming back to fix it. And that's a lot of people. But again, before people end up taking a dump as far as making gangs out to be, because they made them out to be so bad, because nobody took the time out of seeing that in these neighborhoods, carjackings, car theft, a lot of that stuff wasn't, you know, my neighborhood. It was unacceptable. You respected the neighbors, you stayed off their porch, you cleaned up in front of that, you took out trash, you cleaned up where you were. You better not steal nan car here, you better not bring a stolen car over here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people didn't have to do that, but when you get that, you end up passing that to the next young cat. Hey man, don't do that, don't do that, you know, and to not have a father to tell you this here, to have, like he said, the boys club, the big guys who told you, hey man, this ain't right, you know, again, because they couldn't discipline us, they got mad at the people who tried to discipline us. And that's when they end up happening. Thank you.
Well, when I was a youth, before I was 5 years old, I could swim, play baseball, play basketball, knew how to run track, and I knew how to box. One of the biggest lessons that I learned was how to box. I came out of Muhammad Ali Gym on 63rd Street in University out of the boys club. Had I not had that, I probably would have lost a whole bunch of fights, boy, that I had later on in life. Trust me. Trust me, more than one way. Because I really had to literally fight for my life daily. So I take on those same challenges now. I mean, I fight in different ways. I do, like I said, I do therapy, and I'm into physics. So you'll be surprised what I've read and what I know about history. I mean, I had plenty of time to sit with myself and study. But, you know, I want to give you some advice. You know, it's to always keep your mind open. Things change, and it happens quick.
That was good. First, I'm going to say we need to stop judging a book by its cover. Because honestly, if you saw him walking down the street, you might think different things. But you don't understand who he is. I was flunking physics in high school, so I commend you. Just anybody who knows physics, that was not my subject. But we need to go beyond the surface in all areas of our lives, because you don't know the gold mines that you're sitting next to, that you're with, the future leaders who you're sitting with. And I think about my life, and a lot of people say, well, Miss Marsha, you had it easy, but you don't know my life. My mother worked 2 8-hour jobs. I saw my mother when she was putting on the uniform that I had to start ironing at the age of 7. The food that I made at the age of 7, which is the reason why I love to cook now, because my sister didn't really cook. She was someone just off, you know, watching TV. So I had to become that responsible person. But I watched my mother. But I know everybody may not have that example in your house. But you got to find that example in your neighbor. You got to find that example in that church lady or somebody. But no matter what, you've got to decide who you're going to be, and you got to fight like hell to become that. And I believe that sometimes we don't fight for what we really need to be fighting for. We don't need to be fighting each other. We need to fight for what we know is right. And when we cheat ourselves by not doing that, that's how we end up in these bad situations. Because I believe that the youth who decided they wanted this forum, and I was like, yes, you can have it. You come to me with a plan of action and you want to do it, I'm going to push you all the way. I'm going to help you. What we need to understand is that you all have the power. All the words that have been said are not necessarily for those of us, you know, I'm always 25, but those of us who are 25 and over, this is your program. So we need to make sure that we are aware of the fact that we hold the keys. When we talk about justice reform, if the judge, and you know what, don't look at another sign on the corner that says vote for this person until you have looked at that sign and investigated who that person is. I just saw a sign saying retain all judges. Why? Have you read their track record? I'm the person in my group of friends and family. They always go, who should we vote for? Because they know I'm going to read. Now, yeah, that comes from my years of being a journalist, but I want to know who they are. And I don't vote just because some of the crooked politician told us to shoot. That's in the Bible. I don't vote for them because they said vote for them. And you shouldn't either. But you should say to your peers, we're going to vote, y'all. Just like y'all say we're going to the mall, we're going to that movie, we finna go do this. We're going to vote. And we're going to know who we're voting for. Vote these crooked judges out. Stop doing what these crooked politicians tell you to do for the crooked judges who are incarcerating our men, our women, our mothers. We don't have to keep taking this. It is a travesty that we have grown up from slavery, just shuffling our feet and doing whatever the man says to do. If they're not doing what they said they were going to do, call them on it. Call them on it. Governor Pritzker, you told me 3 times that you were going to be in our corner. I ain't heard from you. I keep writing back and forth. You keep appointing people. I'm smart. I care about the community. Where are you? And I understand this is a state-funded grant, but just because it's state-funded doesn't mean we got to bow down. That's why our youth are doing a forum on justice reform, even though it's a Justice Department organization that is funding this. Know what's happening. The money for this comes from a trust from the money from cannabis. Why can't this be a year-round program that's funded, that's employing our youth? We don't only need one summer Chicago Mayor Lightfoot. We need year-round Chicago jobs for these young people. We're extending the red line. I asked openly, how many of those jobs are for the youth, for the young adults? And if we lay down and let them keep dictating to us what justice is, justice will never be us. I'm sorry. That's it.
Take that money. That's what they do when you kill it. Hang it upside down.
I'm sorry. I just can't be quiet.
She killed it.
I want to thank you guys for being our panelists today, and can you guys give them another hand? I want, if you guys have any last remarks, or we're going to open the floor up for questions.
I'm going to camelback off what the sister said. That's what we say as Muslims. We don't say piggyback, we say camelback. Yeah. But I want to camelback off what you said in regards to, like, with the voting process and understanding who it is that we're voting for. One of the things that you know, is kind of like blinding for us is that what we don't see or trying to, like, what we don't take a good look at is the fact that when you look at our history through slavery, a lot of stuff that was done wasn't just done to us by the average ordinary person. A lot of, if not all of the things that was done to us as a people was government backed. It was legislated and it was wrote down and they put it in the books. So when you talk about stuff like, you know, 4 colored people and 4 whites, and you talk about segregation and you go back and forth, you talk about the Jim Crow, and you talk about Reconstruction era. When you talk about all these different periods in time from slavery on up until now, a lot of the things that was done to us was government backed, meaning that they legislated against us. So I want y'all to understand, I'm speaking to y'all directly, young people, our young people. I want y'all to understand when y'all get off into these institutions, some of y'all behind the camera, some of y'all may go off into be journalists, some of y'all may be lawyers, doctors, judges, whatever, so on and so forth. You have to understand that you're graduated into a system that doesn't like you. You're going into a system that doesn't like you, and you have to always remember that. As a people, we have to do better. So remember that a lot of the stuff that was done to us was done by people who say that they're trying to help us.
Which is why we should stop doing stuff to ourselves and to each other.